the day after I got my $750,000 inheritance. My husband packed his bags and left, just like that. No argument, no tension, nothing dramatic, just a cold, empty goodbye that came in the form of a single text message. I think we need some space. That's it. No phone call, no face-to-face conversation, no explanation, just space. After 6 years of marriage. At first, I stared at my phone like maybe it glitched. Maybe it was meant for someone else. But deep down, I knew it wasn't a mistake. I knew exactly what was happening, because I had been watching it unfold in silence for weeks. Here's what people don't tell you about marriage. Sometimes the signs are there, and you just don't want to see them. Or worse, you see them and you make excuses. I made a lot of excuses. For months, he was acting strangely, distant, distracted, coming home later than usual, and when he did, he barely looked at me, let alone touched me. He blamed stress from work, even though he'd been let go from his job months earlier. I covered the bills, took care of everything, and tried not to nag. I thought maybe he was going through something. Maybe it was just a phase. But then he started asking about the money, the inheritance. My grandfather had passed, and I was due to receive a large sum, $750,000 to be exact. It was something he knew about from the beginning. And back then, it didn't seem to matter. We were in love. Or at least, I thought we were. But once the paperwork started moving and the lawyers gave me a timeline, his curiosity ramped up overnight. Suddenly, he wanted to get more involved in our finances. Started asking questions about account numbers, bank names, access codes, things he never cared about before. It was like living with someone who was trying hard to pretend they were still in love while waiting for a jackpot to land. I played along, smiled, acted normally, but inside, I was dying. You don't want to admit that your husband might be using you. You don't want to believe that someone you've shared a bed with, planned a future with, would calculate your inheritance into their escape plan. But that's exactly what he did. So I made a plan of my own. I met with a financial advisor and explained everything. Every joint account, every password, every asset with both our names on it, frozen. Access revoked. I created new private accounts under my name only and moved the money the moment it hit. Legally, I was entitled to do that, since the inheritance was considered a personal gift, not marital property. I also quietly spoke to a lawyer about separation, just in case. And then I waited. When the inheritance hit my account, I didn't say a word. That night, we had dinner like usual. He was unusually quiet, probably thinking about the fantasy life he was going to fund with my money. And the very next morning, boom, he was gone. No hug, no note on the fridge. Just that heartless little text message and a half-empty closet. I found out later that he had already booked a flight to Mexico. He was planning to find himself, but he wasn't going alone. He had met someone online, a girl 9 years younger than me. They'd been chatting for months. She probably thought he was rich, successful, and stable. Joke's on her, because every cent he thought he was running away with. Gone, untouchable. He didn't even get a chance to log into our accounts. They were locked tighter than Fort Knox. And the best part? He still doesn't know I knew. He thinks he ghosted me, thinks he got away before I figured it out. But he had no idea I was 10 steps ahead the whole time. It's funny, isn't it? He left me thinking he broke my heart, but the truth is, he only proved what I already suspected. He never loved me, just what I had to offer. And that kind of betrayal? It doesn't destroy you, it sharpens you. Now I've got my peace, my money, and my freedom. And he's stuck starting over, with nothing. And honestly, that's exactly what he deserves. We'd been married for 6 years. 6 years of shared moments, celebrations, and challenges. That's not just a few birthdays and holidays together. It's the time you invest in building a life, creating dreams, and imagining a future with someone. 6 years of loving, compromising, and trusting. At least that's what I thought. We were high school sweethearts, or so I believed. He was my first real love, The one I defended when people raised an eyebrow. The one I pictured growing old with, having kids with, and sharing a lifetime of memories. I was all in. I believed in us, in him. But looking back now, I see things differently. He wasn't always like this. When we were younger, he was funny, charming, and made me feel safe. We didn't have much money, but we didn't need it. We had big dreams and even bigger hearts, and I thought we were in it together. Or at least, I wanted to believe we were. The sad truth is, I think I missed the signs. Or maybe I ignored them because I didn't want to face the reality. I probably gave him far too much credit for doing the bare minimum. He lost his job twice during our marriage. The first time, I was understanding. Everyone hits a rough patch, right? People get laid off. I stepped up. I worked extra hours, paid the rent, and made sure he didn't feel ashamed or less than. The second time, it was harder. He hadn't even been at that job for a year. But again, I told myself, you don't leave someone just because they're struggling. So I paid the bills again. Groceries, gas, his phone plan, even his gym membership. And I didn't complain. I thought that's what love was supposed to look like. Supporting each other, no matter what. But it wasn't just about the money. I cooked for him, cleaned up after him, and took care of him when he said he was too stressed to function. He'd sit around for hours saying he needed space to think or that he was dealing with a lot mentally. I believed him. I supported him. I kept telling myself, this is temporary. He'll get back on his feet. We'll be okay. What I didn't realize was that I was the only one holding everything together, while he was slowly checking out mentally and emotionally. The worst part is that I didn't even question where the money was going. I noticed strange withdrawals from our joint account, random purchases that didn't make sense, but I pushed it aside. I told myself not to be controlling, not to accuse him without concrete proof. That's the thing about love. It blinds you. You want to believe someone cares about you for who you are, not for what you can give them. And when the inheritance was finally coming through, I kept hoping he wasn't just waiting for the payout. I didn't want to believe that he was sticking around for the money. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. After everything we had been through, job losses, family deaths, difficult times, I wanted to believe that our bond was real, that he wasn't seeing me as a safety net or a backup plan. But deep down, there was always that nagging voice in my head, that gut feeling I couldn't shake. You know that feeling, right? The one where someone hugs you, but it doesn't feel warm anymore. Or when they say, I love you, but you don't feel it in their words. That's what I was experiencing every day. Small signs, little lies, moments that didn't add up. And the more I ignored it, the louder that gut feeling became. Looking back, I think I knew something was off long before he left, but I didn't want to admit it. Because if I did, it would mean admitting that I was being used. That the person I had invested 6 years of my life into, sacrificed for and fought for, didn't love me the way I loved him. That's a tough realization. It's easier to hope things will get better, to keep giving even when you're drained, than to admit the truth. But now, I see it for what it was. A one-sided love story. One where I gave and he took. And when the money finally came through, he didn't even wait a day to show his true colors. And that's the part that still hurts. About 2 months before the inheritance came through, something shifted. It wasn't anything big at first, just small things that felt a little off. He started going to the gym, which wouldn't normally be strange, except he'd never shown the slightest interest in fitness before. Suddenly, he had a monthly membership, fancy supplements, and gym gear showing up at our door. Then came the new cologne. Not just a casual spray. This was the kind of expensive cologne you buy when you're trying to impress someone. I asked him once, jokingly, "Who are you trying to smell good for?" He laughed it off and said he just wanted to feel better about himself. I wanted to believe that, but the timing was too perfect, or too suspicious. He also started coming home later, told me he was working late or meeting clients. Thing is, he wasn't working, not really. He'd been freelancing here and there, nothing stable. There were no clients, no new projects. but he'd come home acting tired, almost annoyed that I asked anything at all. Every question I asked felt like a test I was supposed to fail, so I stopped asking. I knew pushing him would only lead to arguments, and honestly, I didn't want to hear any more lies. It was easier to smile and play along. Then, he started getting interested in our finances. Out of nowhere, suddenly he wanted to help out with managing the accounts. Asked how much was in savings, which cards were paid off, and when the inheritance was officially coming in. That last part, he brought it up a lot, at least once or twice a week. Always framed like he was just trying to be helpful, like, "Hey babe, once the money's in, we should sit down and look at everything together." It wasn't a curiosity, it was a calculation. He wanted exact dates. Wanted to know if the money would go into our joint account first or if I could move it around later. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a concerned husband thinking about our future. This was someone watching the calendar, waiting to pounce. I remember sitting in the kitchen one morning while he was in the shower. My coffee had gone cold. I just stared at the wall, thinking, what if I'm right? What if he's planning something? My stomach turned. I didn't want it to be true. I didn't want to think the man I married, someone I loved since I was a teenager, was only sticking around because of money. But something told me not to ignore it this time. I smiled. I played dumb. I acted like everything was normal. I even acted more loving, more trusting, just to throw him off. He probably thought I was clueless. But behind his back, I booked a meeting with a financial advisor. I told the advisor everything about the inheritance, the joint accounts, my concerns. And with their help, I locked everything down. Every shared account, frozen, credit cards, secured, access to the inheritance, protected under my name only with legal barriers in place. I moved my money into a trust and made sure he couldn't touch a single cent without my permission. The weirdest part? After that, I felt calm, almost peaceful, because now I had control. I stopped pretending everything was fine for his sake and started preparing for mine. I didn't confront him. I didn't tip him off. I just waited. Waited to see what he'd do once the money landed, and what he did proved everything I feared was true. The money hit the account on a Monday morning. I remember the exact moment, 9:43 a.m. I was sitting on the couch in my pajamas, sipping my coffee, watching the transaction go through on my banking app. $750,000. It didn't even feel real. I just stared at the number for a while, heart pounding. Not because I was excited, but because I knew what was coming. I'd been waiting for it. Tuesday morning, he left. No warning, no conversation, no attempt at pretending everything was okay anymore. I woke up to an unusually quiet house, and when I walked into the living room, something felt off. His shoes were gone, his laptop, charger, and toothbrush, all missing. I didn't even see him leave. There was only a folded piece of paper on the kitchen counter. My name is scribbled on the outside. I need to find myself. This marriage isn't working. That was it. That was the grand explanation for abandoning 6 years of marriage. No apology, no honesty, not even the decency to say it to my face. Just that one selfish sentence. And the worst part? I wasn't surprised. My heart still dropped, but not out of shock. It was more like confirmation. Everything I had been suspecting for months was true. I checked our closet. Half empty. His passport was missing. I didn't even know he had renewed it. That's how sneaky he had been. I opened his drawers, looked around the bathroom. Everything of his was gone, as if he had planned this for a long time. And that's when I knew this wasn't a breakup. This was a clean getaway. Later that day, a mutual friend called me, someone who didn't know the full story but had heard something strange. She told me he'd booked a flight to Mexico, one way, departing that same afternoon. He didn't even wait 24 hours after the money hit the account. I guess he thought I wouldn't check. Or maybe he thought I'd be too heartbroken to do anything about it. But what he didn't know was that I'd already frozen everything. He couldn't touch a dime. And then the final piece of the puzzle dropped into my lap. The woman. He met her online, some girl from San Diego. Blonde, tanned, yoga instructor. 9 years younger than me. He'd been talking to her for months behind my back. That client he was always meeting late at night, that was her. That's who he was texting at the dinner table when he thought I wasn't looking. That's who he wanted to run off with, using the life I had built, the money my grandfather left me. I was furious, hurt, disgusted. But most of all, I was relieved. Relieved that I trusted my instincts and protected myself in time. Because if I hadn't, he would have drained every account and disappeared before I could even realize what had happened. He was never planning to build a life with me. He was planning an exit. Classic, right? A man meets a younger woman. A man pretends to be unhappy in his marriage. A man waits for his wife to come into money. Then he packs up, leaves a fake heartfelt note, and runs off thinking he's pulled off some genius move. Like a storyline ripped from a cheap drama series. But this isn't a show. This is my life. And even though it broke me for a while, at least I got the ending I deserved. Not him. Because at the end of the day, he walked away with nothing. And me? I walked away with everything. My money, my dignity, and a truth I can live with. He really thought he was going to get away with it. That he'd pull off this big dramatic exit, drain our joint account, and leave me standing in the dust with nothing but a goodbye note, like I wouldn't notice. Like I'd just cry myself to sleep while he sipped margaritas with his new yoga girlfriend in Mexico. But the joke's on him because the account was frozen 48 hours before the money even landed. I had everything in place. My financial advisor and I had moved fast and quietly. Not a single alert went off. No red flags for him to catch. Every penny from that inheritance was routed straight into a private trust with only my name on it. Secure, untouchable, and best of all, invisible to him. He didn't know a thing. He thought he had timed everything perfectly. But the only thing he timed was his humiliation. The moment the money arrived, he was already halfway out the door, probably dreaming about beach villas and cocktails, thinking I'd be helpless and desperate without him. What he didn't expect was to check the joint account and see a big fat zero. I can imagine the panic, the realization that the free ride was over, that every scheme, every lie, every late night pretending to work had led to absolutely nothing. But I wasn't finished. I didn't just freeze the money. I erased him from my life, piece by piece. First, I removed him from my health insurance. Then I took his name off my phone plan. No more paid data, no more free texts. I even kicked him off my Netflix. I know that sounds petty, but it felt good. You can cheat on me, lie to me, and try to steal from me. But you are not watching the final season of anything on my dime. And when he realized I'd cut off everything, oh, he tried. He called me over and over. Different numbers, private numbers, and even tried from his cousin's phone. All blocked. I didn't give him a single second of my time. Not a word, not a message. I didn't even waste the energy it takes to roll my eyes. I was done giving him anything. Then he made the mistake of showing up at my parents' house. That was a joke. He knocked on the door, and my dad opened it. One look, and bam, the door slammed in his face. No words, just cold silence. That was the moment I knew I had all the power back. He couldn't lie, charm, or manipulate his way out of this one. His plan had completely backfired. He thought I was naive, that I'd never see it coming, but I did. I watched him pretend, cheat, and plot, and I waited. I smiled, kept quiet, and moved smartly. And when the time came, I didn't yell or beg. I just disappeared with everything he thought he could take. He didn't just lose access to my money. He lost me. He lost the life I built, the loyalty I gave him, the home he never truly appreciated. And all because he thought he could play me like a fool. Turns out the only fool in this story was him. 2 weeks. That's how long his little dream lasted. The woman he ran off with, the one he thought would be his escape plan, she dumped him fast. He told her some ridiculous lie, that the $750,000 inheritance was his. He made it sound like he had money coming in, like they were about to live the high life together. Fancy vacations, no worries, a whole new chapter. She believed him at first. But it didn't take long before things started falling apart. He probably talked a big game, 5-star dinners, first-class flights, but he couldn't even afford a decent hotel room. The moment she realized he was all talk and no cash, she was out. No message, no goodbye. She blocked him on everything, just like I did. And then, he was stuck, broke, alone, completely humiliated. He didn't have access to a single cent. The accounts were frozen, the trust was locked, everything was protected. He couldn't even afford a flight home. So what did he do? He crashed on a friend's couch, not a hotel, not even a cheap Airbnb. Just a worn-out couch in a dingy apartment that probably smelled like takeout and regret. That friend was one of the last people still willing to help him, and even that didn't last long. People get tired of carrying someone who can't stand on their own. He had no job, no savings, no plan B. All he had was the fantasy he built, and it collapsed the moment I pulled the rug out from under him. While he was couch surfing and figuring out how it all went so wrong, I was living my best life in Italy. I had always wanted to go. I dreamed about sipping wine in Florence, walking through old streets, and sitting by the water in peace. But I kept putting it off. Because of him, there was always an excuse. We can't afford it. It's not a good time. Let's save for something else. But the second he walked out, it all became possible, and I didn't waste a second. There I was, sitting in a quiet cafe in Florence, glass of red wine in hand. And beside me, my lawyer, the same one who helped me set up the trust and freeze the accounts. I signed the divorce papers on that trip. No drama, no tears, just a massive, peaceful sigh of relief. The man who thought he could play me was officially out of my life, legally, financially, emotionally. And it felt incredible. The best part? He thought I'd be heartbroken, that I'd be sitting in the dark, crying, wondering what went wrong. He expected me to chase him, to ask for answers, but I didn't. I gave him complete silence, not because I had nothing to say, but because he didn't deserve to hear anything. When someone lies, cheats, and tries to steal from you, they don't get access to your voice anymore. That's not bitterness, that's boundaries. While he was spiraling, I was thriving, booking spa days, exploring vineyards, laughing without faking it. I realized how light life feels when you're not carrying someone else's dead weight. And you know what? People say revenge doesn't solve anything, but I disagree. Watching someone who tried to destroy you lose everything, while you grow, heal, and glow up, that's a different kind of satisfaction. He thought he outsmarted me, that I'd be another woman left behind while he started a shiny new life. But instead, I became the woman he'll never recover from, the one who stayed 10 steps ahead, the one who didn't fall apart, the one who walked away stronger. And that's the real victory. Cheating hurts. There's no sugarcoating that. When someone you love turns around and betrays you, it feels like the ground disappears right under your feet. But you know what hurts even more? Realizing you gave so much of yourself to someone who never actually deserved you. That's the part that breaks something deeper. Because love, real love, it's supposed to be safe. It's supposed to feel like home. Not a trap waiting to snap shut the moment you get what they want. For the longest time, I thought I was building a life with someone who loved me back. I believed in us. I supported him through job losses, late-night breakdowns, and money struggles. I carried both of us when things got hard, and I did it without keeping score. That's what love looks like, isn't it? You show up. You stay when things aren't perfect. You help them become better. But the whole time, he was standing next to me with a mask on. And the second he thought he could take the money and run, he did. No guilt, no hesitation, just a cold, calculated exit. And what stings the most, it's not even the betrayal. It's the fact that he thought I wouldn't see it coming. That I'd just sit there, wide-eyed and clueless, while he disappeared into the sunset with money that wasn't even his. He didn't just lie. He underestimated me. And that cuts deeper than anything else, because it shows he never really knew me at all. But here's the thing. Things like this can happen to anyone. You think you're the exception. You think because you're loyal, because you communicate, because you believe in second chances, that you're protected. You're not. People like him. They know how to wear the right face. They know how to make you doubt your gut. And by the time you realize what they're doing, it's almost too late. That's why I'm telling this story. Not for sympathy, and definitely not for revenge. I'm telling it because someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're starting to feel like something's off in your own relationship. Maybe you're already blaming yourself for things that don't add up. If you feel it in your gut, don't ignore it. You are not crazy. You are not paranoid. Sometimes your heart wants to forgive, but your gut knows the truth. I don't care about the money, honestly. What I care about is the fact that he looked me in the eyes, slept in the same bed, made me dinner, and all the while was planning his escape. That's not love. That's cruelty wrapped in charm. It's always the ones closest to you, the ones you trust the most. They have access to your softest parts. They know exactly where to cut. But I'm not bitter. I won't let him take that from me too. I'm better, stronger, wiser, and free. Now I travel, I laugh louder. I've built a life that's mine, not one that I had to constantly drag someone through. I learned that protecting your peace is more important than preserving a fake relationship. I learned that love without respect is just manipulation in disguise. And I learned that walking away or being left doesn't make you weak. It makes space for better things. So if you're sitting there doubting yourself, questioning everything, or trying to make sense of someone else's betrayal, let me say this. You are not the problem. You never were. And you don't have to stay in a story that keeps breaking your heart. Start a new chapter, one that's written by you, for you. Because the real tragedy isn't the cheating. It's losing yourself trying to keep someone who was never really there. You don't need them. You need you.